everyone, it's Nicole Spohr here today, and I'm super excited to revisit a technique that I have not shared in a while, where you use markers direct to stamp to color the stamp before you take it to your cardstock for beautiful multicolored results. Today we are going to be using the awesome STAMPtember 2019 Simon Says Stamp and Hero Arts Real Flowers Vintage Stamp Set. This is the perfect kind of stamp set for this wonderful technique. Instead of starting with white cardstock, I thought it would be fun to start with a super light blue cardstock. This is the Hero Arts Hero Hues Arctic cardstock. One of my very favorite colors of cardstock from their collection. Super pretty and light, and really fantastic for this technique because you're still going to be able to really get a feel for the colors we're using. Then I'm using some Tombow dual brush markers. I don't use these a ton, and every time I do, I think, why do I not use these more? So I am coloring in the stamp, and then I tried a couple different things. I will tell you, I colored in the stamp and then I huffed on it, which is where you just breathe warm air from your mouth onto the stamp to reactivate that ink, to kind of re-moisten it so you can stamp it on the cardstock. That works okay. So that's what I did right here. I stamped that big green viney type image, and you can see it didn't stamp great. So I'm using my Misty for everything here today. What I found that worked the best is coloring in the stamp. So kind of I'm going all over with chartreuse. Then I'm going to go in with green and color in some areas with darker green. But what I found worked best was to take a mini mister and spritz that nice even layer of mist all over the inked stamp, and then take it to your cardstock. And that's going to give you kind of that watercolor effect, which is super awesome. So this is a great way to kind of, and I'm doing air quotes, kind of quote unquote, cheat watercolor, which I think is awesome. So you're still going to get a watercolor effect, but you're not actually watercoloring. So this yellow kind of sunflower looking image, that is how I achieved that as well. That was yellow, or processed yellow, orange, and then green. The pink flower is hot pink and rubine red with a green stem, and I'm layering. What I find really creates that beautiful kind of wildflower garden type of look is the layering part of this. So I started in one area and I'm just working my way out to fill in all the areas. I believe I used all of the flowers and greenery images from the stamp set, as well as one of the 3 sentiments. We're using thank you. There's also smile and friend. And I only used one of those today, but I'm using all of the floral and leaf elements. So everything you see here is from that stamp set. Remember that these STAMPtember stamp sets at Simon Says Stamp are exclusive to Simon Says Stamp, and they're limited edition. So once they're gone, they're gone. It's kind of part of the whole STAMPtember event and festivities at Simon Says Stamp, where they have almost a brand new stamp set every single day. I really found probably one of my favorite parts of this card, because it's very, very green heavy. There's lots of greenery, is the pops of color with the flowers. And I kept those all to a yellow-orange, pinks, reds, and purples. And the way these all look on the blue cardstock is just so stinking pretty. I really had so much fun with this, just because it is a technique that I don't do all the time, and actually I don't see it done all that often. There's a lot of coloring and outline images and things, but this is just one of those techniques that's been around forever, and it is still an incredible technique with incredible results. So we are going to continue to color those in. I think one of the great things about this technique is years ago when it was first, well, I say first, but first new to me, introduced, we didn't have things like the MISTI. And so it was a lot harder to achieve great results because you can see here, because I have my paper in my MISTI, I can stamp it multiple times. So let's say the first stamped impression is a little bit faded and it's not quite as crisp as I want, or there's not enough color, the light color didn't, translate that great on the cardstock. You can go ahead and stamp it as many times as you need to get a really, really great result. And I think that is what makes it so much easier to achieve these days. One thing that I found really balanced this card out is adding that small flower up at the top. So all of those kind of leafy type branches that are coming up, that one big stamp set, I stamped it twice and to fill in kind of along the bottom edge. What makes this card is adding that small flower to the top of some of those and bright colors. It gives height and it also adds that pop of color throughout the design. So I added a red flower, we're going to add a purple flower, we're going to add another kind of yellow orange flower. So add all the colors here before we kind of move on to the other side. Plus we have the great little kind of dandelion or it's not a sunflower, I think I said sunflower earlier, the dandelion looking, which I guess that would be a weed, wouldn't it? So hopefully it's a flower, but that image there, I love that in yellow and orange. So lots and lots of fun little ways to add those pops of color here. So we have just a few more to add, and I just want to fill that in. I'm getting to the end. I still have quite a few images to stamp, I guess, but I need to really be conscious of where I'm putting things, what's going to overlap, where do I want to put that last dandelion looking image, where do I want to add some more color down near the bottom, because the one smallest stem image is great to fill in down towards the bottom. We want to have some color down there too. How about this other kind of tall flower that has lots of like leaves and things and it's kind of bent over and has buds on it? Where can I add that to add some more pops of color and to add some more height? So I kind of laid everything out, gauging where I was going to put those things, and then I can go in and finish stamping. So I've added the image that has a little more height to it. Cleaning that up real quick, we'll go ahead and just move that one out of the way. Add some green, add some processed yellow, add some orange. And you can see, I purposely left this part in the camera so you could really see how fast I color that. It is not super precise. It's basically getting the color on the stamp and then stamping that right there. I know I will probably get this question because I've gotten it in the past. If you can use your zigs, you definitely can. I don't know that I like how they work quite as well with this particular technique. I really like these Tombow markers for this. In fact, it's one of the main things I use these markers for. I've had them for a long time. And I pull them out when I'm looking to do this technique. But you can definitely try this with your zigs. They're water-based markers. These Tombow markers are water-based markers. I don't see any reason why not. I just kind of prefer these for this technique, and that's just a personal preference. I don't think it's, one is better than the other or anything like that. Now, I accidentally did not get that pink stamp cleaned very good. I left this in because I want to mention it. I think it might be a little bit hard to see in the video, but I didn't get the stamp cleaned well, and when I was trying to figure out where I wanted to position this, I left a smudge of pink over there. Not the end of the world, because I really did want to add another flower down near the bottom, and I purposely just picked that area to stamp that because I left that smudge. So that's what I'm doing right here. I'm going to correct that or disguise or hide it. But be very, very careful. I have noticed with these markers, especially the pinks and reds, a little bit harder to clean off. I recommend a stamp cleaner to really scrub that color off of your stamp. It's probably going to stain them just a little bit. You can see that over to the left on the left side of the screen. But that way you're not transferring the ink to other parts of your project if you're just kind of testing it out to see where you like everything. Now that I have added all of my beautiful florals here to the bottom edge of my card, I need to figure out where I want to put my greeting. I'm going to use thank you, and I'm going to do something really fun here. I am going to use my powder tool. I am going to use the Hero Arts Embossing and Watermark Ink. This is an awesome embossing ink pad, but we're going to use it for both embossing and watermark today. I'm going to first emboss that thank you with white embossing powder. After I have heat set this, I am going to go put this stamp back in my MISTI, and I put it exactly where it was before. It might have been just a little off. I don't know. I don't really think it was, but I pressed just a little bit harder, and because I re-inked it with the Embossing and Watermark ink, and I pressed that again, and what's going to happen is I'm going to get a watermark outline around these letters, which naturally gives it a little bit of a shadow. Then I wanted to kind of create this just distressed inked edge that draws your eye in to the sentiment on the card. And to do this, I am taking the Hero Arts Splash Reactive ink and inking up the edges of my panel using a blending brush. And I'm using a light hand. I'm only going around the edges of this panel. I did not worry about masking. I'm not worrying about slightly covering it up. That's kind of what I was going for. I want it to draw your eye in, just kind of create that beautiful, dreamy type scene. And it really, really works. So that just darkens and deepens up the edges of our background. I did forget to mention our background panel does measure 4 inches, or 4¼ inches, pardon me, by 5½ inches. Now this is some LAPIS Hero Arts Hero Hues cardstock, one of the newer colors in their collection. It is stunning. I love it. I am going to stamp the phrase "for your friendship" on this strip. This is actually from another Hero Arts stamp set. This is called Thank You Messages, and I thought it really tied in nicely with the beautiful script thank you. So it's going to read, "Thank you for your friendship." We are stamping this with the Embossing and Watermark ink, heat embossing with the Hero Arts White Detail embossing powder. And then we're just going to buff away any of that powder, trim this into a thin strip, and adhere this underneath the thank you on the card over the florals using a foam adhesive strip. I love the addition of strips to cards. You guys probably know this already. This is a fantastic way to add a little strip of text to your card, to add a little dimension. Everything else is one layer, which is great and fine. This adds just a tiny bit of dimension. It's not going to be a ton, but just enough. I'm going to center that right underneath. We are going to adhere this whole panel to a white side fold card base. Look how pretty that is. And then to finish my card, I took some Nuvo crystal drops in Morning Dew, and I'm going to go around the entire card, especially the centers of some of the florals, and add drops. And this is just going to create some kind of clearish drops. The Morning Dew isn't completely clear, but it's just kind of gives those dewdrops kind of look, which is what I wanted. And I'm going to create a scattering of them, not only in the center of some of the flowers, but throughout the design as well. So maybe some on leaves or some just kind of dripping kind of off of the flowers or whatever. And that just gives a fun little decorative touch to finish off our card design. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video showcasing the older technique of using markers for the direct to stamp. So the supplies I used to create this card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Remember that this stamp set is an exclusive to Simon Says Stamp and part of the STAMPtember 2019 festivities at Simon Says Stamp. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss another card making video. Here are a couple more cards featuring Hero Arts stamps and dies that you might be interested in. Thanks for joining me today, and we'll catch you next time.